People, deluded, I'm back again. It's a quick one. Now, I know we actually at this point haven't even played against Bournemouth, but in regards to a tactical preview about what to expect on the weekend in the North London derby, I thought let me give you guys the thoughts that ponder my mind in this week. I know it's a North London derby. Obviously, I'll do the preview where we'll talk a bit more about the context of the two sides at the moment, but it's a North London derby. Spurs are for me. Spurs are nailed on to finish third mathematically as possible. Of course, I don't want them to finish third. I know Arsenal fans, we were spoiled other than the last two, including this year, 3 years, always finishing above Spurs. The tables have turned. They're in a better condition as us. They definitely have a better team than us. Keyword team. I'm not talking about individuals. But yeah, man, if you away from the rivalry, so you can't have nothing but admiration for Pochettino for how he's got the side playing to his way, bunch of different systems, and they're the third best team in the country in my opinion. I know mathematically they can still finish second, but my personal opinion, and obviously things can change, but it's a case of Liverpool and City, as I've said before. Spurs are there. Then you've got United, Chelsea and Arsenal fighting for fourth place. Again, obviously I hope Spurs come out of that spot, but you have to give credit where due. In regards to my thoughts this week, I keep thinking, how do we play against Spurs? How do we play against Spurs? How do we beat Spurs? We've done it earlier in the season. Of course, I'd love to do the double against them. But I think it's a fantastic tactical matchup between the two managers, to be fair with you. There's actually a lot of similarities, personally, I see with Unai Emery and Pochettino, so it'll be a good setup. Obviously, I've got two Spurs systems here. I've seen them play, excluding the keeper, obviously. For those of you who find it a bit easier to envision stuff, that's the keeper. Obviously, you've got 3 at the back. I didn't draw it to scale, obviously, people, but you've got 3 at the back. You've got 4 in midfield, essentially. 2 midfielders, central midfielders, and then you've obviously, I don't know if you can you see what I'm doing? Yeah, you can. And you've got 2 wingers here, people, fullback, sorry. You obviously got Eriksen, and then you typically have Kane and Son, or like you actually saw at a point, Lemena and Llorente, or whatever. I know Dele Alli won't be fit, but Dele Alli could be stationed there, and he'll be as a second striker, which he'll drop in and things like that. But typically, that's what you see. That's what you've seen from Spurs. And they've obviously played a bunch of other formations and different variations of it, but these are the key ones I'm looking at, people. So you've obviously got a free. Well, you might as well just call it a 3-4-1-2 essentially, excluding the keeper. Then you've obviously got 4 at the back. You've got Dyer here. I've circled Dyer for a reason. We'll get onto it. You've obviously got Assume, Sissoko and Harry Winks. Then you've obviously got Eriksen, Kane and Son, whoever, people. First and foremost, you think, how's the best way of playing that Spurs side? In reality, what you typically see with the Spurs side, let me make it a bit clearer, and I shouldn't use my fingers. Where's the tissue? There it is. Their fullbacks are probably a bit more here, or they should be in the system, because obviously, people, their fullbacks have to provide the width because of their narrow system. The fullbacks have to provide the width. Don't get it twisted. Harry Kane obviously works the channels very well, but he's a central player. Do you get it, people? He works the channels well. He obviously drops deep and comes into these positions, but primarily he's going to be there, obviously, to get on the end of things. You've got Eriksen, who makes lovely runs forward as well and times his runs into the box. So it's key for me that our players watch midfield runners. It's actually vital that they watch midfield runners. To be fair, Davis is slightly more reserved, so you'd probably see at times, you'd see him fly forward like I just showed you, but you'd probably see an unofficial back 3, and then Trippier's probably the one area trying to exploit because there's holes within his side. And also, you're looking at our side. Obviously, this isn't our team, but this isn't Arsenal, and we'll do that in a second. But Trippier's on the right, Kohler's on the left. Kohler is our most attacking outlet in terms of width, in terms of threat and things like that. So if you're Pochettino or Spurs in the week trying to think about how to stop Arsenal, it's going to be stopping this man here or exploiting the spaces that have been exploited here. We'll get onto it, but like you've seen against Manchester United in the FA Cup, where Lingard scored in about 3 touches, Firmino the same, ironically Son and Dele Alli within the Carabao Cup when they eliminated us, they exploited gaps. We'll talk about them, but there's gaps. Now, a lot of it is Kohler's fault. The bulk is Kohler's fault. Kohler isn't, you can't be a defender and be better attacking. I know the modern day fullback, you have to be essentially another winger, and that's what you're known for. But if you're a defender and you're better going forward, that means you're not really that good of a defender. He's improved. His strengths are to go forward, and within our system, he provides the width. So the manager's obviously telling him to go and do that, go forward sort of thing. but it comes with a risk. How many times have you seen teams exploit the gaps that Kohler might leave? Where's this? Obviously, people, this isn't our team. This is two Spurs, it's different formations. But if you can imagine, Kohler typically at times, he's up there. You can see how there's space to exploit here, people. Do you get it? So that's an area of concern, and just an area we need to be wary of and follow our runners. For me, you look at Eriksen. Eriksen's late runs. Dele Alli won't play, so we won't include him, but Winks will try and dictate. You've obviously got Sissoko working his arse off. Son and Kane will work hard. Kane and Son will work these channels as well. Against Spurs, what did you see? It was actually a ball from Dele Alli into this channel for Son that led to him obviously scoring, and things like that. So there's that. We really need to watch out for midfield runners, whether it's late runs or making runs for the sake of it. Pay attention to Kane and Thingy, as we know. If Dyer does play similar to last time, coordinated press. Spurs' system is, I wouldn't say they're exactly expansive. They're actually class Pochettino as slightly defensive, but big reason as to their ethos or how they're able to play is because they're not afraid to play out from the back. They got two of the best defenders, excluding defenders, just ball playing centre halves in the league. Two of the best in Van Tongen and Toby Alderweireld. Alderweireld needs no license to be told to spray them long balls, and you know he will step out. He will step into midfield and just step out of the defence. And ironically, I want us to capitalise on the gaps he might leave. Vertonghen the same. You'd imagine that, obviously, if Davis goes forward... The blue's not working. If Davis was to go forward and Davis was to be like here, people, then you can imagine Vertonghen naturally will occupy that space. So it's exploiting that. It's exploiting if their defense wants to push up, similar to us. We play a high line. If you're Spurs, you sit, you wait for that counter, and you get in a foot race with an Arsenal player and Son, because Son 9 times out of 10 will beat them. Do you get it, people? We've got to press their back four, including the keeper, not allow them to play. If Dyer plays, Dyer will be here. Dyer doesn't want it. Dyer does not want it, like you saw when we beat them. Press Dyer, people. We need to really do that. It's going to come down to them sort of things. Exploit set pieces as well, like you saw last time in the Premier League when we beat them. Use set pieces, utilise set pieces as best we can. I say that because we're actually doing all right in terms of defending set pieces and scoring set pieces. And that's one thing you could say Unai Emery's been able to mark down on the side, that and playing out from the back. So with that being said, people, with this all being said, yeah, how am I going to draw this again? I shouldn't have done all these scribbles. Let's just draw it all again, man. Do you know what? We'll go with this. We'll use their 4 at the back. Well, not 4 at the back. I'm a visual person, people, so I've got to remember exactly what I've done. So bear with me. So with what I've just said, people, yeah, for me, it's got to be a diamond. Now, I think you can play 4-2-3-1, but I feel the best way is a diamond, people. And again, terrible at drawing, left-handed and that. But we'll try a thing. Will it sit? Yeah. Let me not drop it before something happens. So what? Put the line there. Oh, come on. Apologies, people. I need to go and buy some more after this video's done, but you've got the line there. You got that semicircle sort of thing, people. Obviously, we line back Spurs. You obviously got the 4 players there. 1 there, 1 there, 1 there. I had 1 there. What else did I have? That was Dyer. You obviously had Winks. And you had Sissoko. That's 3. You had Mr. Eriksen. You had Harry Kane. And what I assume would be Son, but it could be Lemina, and they could look to put an extra man in midfield. Or if Dele Alli's fit, I don't think Dele Alli will be fit. But that will be Spurs' lineup, typically, people. Obviously, or one of their lineups. I'd go 3 at the back if I was Spurs, but that could be one of their lineups. So for me, if that's it, people, the best way for us is to go, obviously, the keeper. I believe, anyways, is this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah? Boom. Like you've seen, people, the diamonds. Purely because, yeah, the main reason I'd go with an extra man in midfield against them, people, is because of this very scenario we just spoke about. Kola, bad boy going forward. Kola, I want him to go forward. I want him to go forward. I need him to defend, but I want him to go forward. Give Trippier something to think about. The issue then becomes if where is it? If Kola obviously goes, people just forget that he's there at this moment. But if Kola was to now go, and there's gaps, what happens, people? Like you've seen, if it's Koscielny is getting on a bit. He doesn't want to get pulled into these positions. Sorry, people. Koscielny will have to, or whatever centre half's on the left hand side, they're gonna have to cover, aren't they, people? And if they're gonna cover, what are you gonna see naturally? If my man's had to go out there and cover, there's gonna be gaps, and it's down to us to shuffle across, which means the other team's left back could potentially could sneak round the back, and we're not the best in terms of following runners, like you've seen. And typically the goals we can see, like with this scenario, is sequences. So if Kola's going forward and they're able to exploit that space, and it's Son, if Spurs are smart and you put Son out there, yeah, Koscielny and Son in a foot race is peak. Son's going to win it. We're going to have to follow runners. So if we're out there, you can expect you're going to see the likes of Harry Kane sneaking behind. So why I'm saying this, people, is first and foremost, an extra midfielder. Our midfielders don't support our fullbacks enough. And if it's Xhaka will probably be towards the left-hand side, so it doesn't make sense. But an extra midfielder helps us, it's not working, but kind of mitigate to cover that space, people. Do you get it? So now there's two sort of... Put this back. So now, obviously, if my man goes out there, Koscielny, there's obviously someone to back him. Then, obviously, you've got Torreira who can sit in, so there's typically always 4 defenders. Guendouzi, obviously, is a young player still. We need some creativity going forward and a bit more bravado. So there's him there. Obviously, you've got Xhaka, Torreira and Guendouzi, which I've just said. I would personally go with Aaron Ramsey as well because of the runs into midfield. But equally, I wouldn't mind if that's Mesut Ozil. The strikers are the strikers, people. They pick themselves. And why I actually say that is because you can imagine, people. I want us to press. If you press, if Guendouzi comes out here, if Xhaka comes out here, if Ramsey or Denis Suarez or whoever's playing in this 10 position gets up and supports the strikers to press, obviously we move higher up the field because that's what we're going to do. Then obviously, if we move higher up their field, Spurs already compact. It's gonna be a complete packed midfield sort of thing, and it's just down to which side exploits the gaps within the other team. Now, Spurs' pivot, Spurs' team, Spurs' just outlook is better than ours. I feel they know their jobs more. They shuffle across better, so we're going against it. So for me, we should go with the diamond essentially. I wouldn't mind 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. I've already spoken about the mistakes, and again, I'm terrible at drawing people, and this ain't gonna make no sense to you, but many a times this season we've been cut open in 3 passes or so, people. Again, this is just scribbles. It's about to make sense, yeah. If you remember, first and foremost, in the Cat Yoruba, go and watch it so you can see visually what I'm talking about. If you remember when Son scored, yeah, it's like I said, like you seen against Liverpool, United, and the Spurs game, and many other examples. 3 passes are essentially cutting us open. It's a long ball, lovely long ball from Gazzaniga. He did that twice for Son and Dele Alli's goal, but it's a lovely long ball. I think Socrates and somebody, it might have been Kane, there was a little bounce here and it didn't quite work. It fell towards Dele Alli, if I can remember correctly. Dele Alli played Son inside here, people. And what did I just tell you lot about the space? Kola. You see what I'm saying, people? You need to be aware of runners. Over his shoulder. He's onside. This is exactly what happens week in, week out when we can see goals. You need to be aware. Obviously, the ball's played in. Son takes it in his stride and it's a finish, people. Do you get it? Do you see what I mean? Now, if I delete this or just get rid of this a bit more, because I've already talked about the Dele Alli one, but the Dele Alli one wasn't any different, people. Put that little dot. Yeah, the Dele Alli one was not any different, people. If I can remember how it went, I can't lie to you lot. Yeah, I remember how it went. Again, ball from Gazzaniga, people, right? Ball came in. I'm so sure it was Harry Kane. That's one of Kane's strengths. He's a complete striker in terms of just being a gunman and scoring goals, but he's a very complete striker. He comes deep, he mucks in, he gets assists, he does his thing. I've got a lot of time for Kane. What's that? But yeah, the ball falls to Kane. Again, Dele Alli makes the run. Like, it's just simply making the run. That didn't even happen. It was a lovely, I'm so sure it was down this channel. It was a lovely ball from Kane into his space, into his path. And then obviously Dele Alli did the rest. But people, they were 2 cheap goals, and it fundamentally happened because 1, 2, 3, 4. are not aware of runners off the ball in spaces like this, and such. And I'm going to be fair to them. It's not just on them. This is what I mean about midfield runners. If you're a midfielder, if you're Torreira, if you're Xhaka, if you're, well, this can be Torreira, if you're Guendouzi, Xhaka, Torreira, whatever example, you have to be aware of midfield runners, because I've seen, even against Liverpool, when Mane, if you remember the goal that Milner scored, Mane actually checks in from the left-hand channel here. Can you not see it, people? Yeah, he actually checks in here, and then he goes back out, and we're unaware. You've got to be able to follow midfield runners, and I don't feel we do that good enough. I feel like you've seen with Lingard, when Lingard scored against us, people, the example I said in the FA Cup, it's free passes. He plays it with Shaw, I believe, and it goes down the channel to Lukaku. But fundamentally, he's just following his run. So that means 1, 2, 3. You've got to be aware of this. You've got to be switched on and think, okay, my man is running in. What do you think's going to happen? You've got to follow him. But typically we get caught ball watching over here, or we're unaware. So this is how these lot end up putting it into the back of the net. Football isn't a hard game. It's complicated. Of course, it's not as black and white as simply just saying this, but there's certain things, if we do it, we can avoid certain mishaps happening to us. I think it will come down to, similar to last game, who can control the midfield, who can exploit the flanks better, and just comes down to the finer details. Like Spurs switched off from set pieces. Obviously, Lacazette, it was a bad boy goal for him to score. Was it Lacazette and Mustafi who scored? Or was it Aubameyang? Or was it both? I can't remember the scoreline, people, but I just remember Mustafi taking advantage of their poor marking from set pieces. So finer details like that, we need to be switched on. It's an early kickoff as well. It's at Wembley. We know Wembley better than Spurs. We've won trophies there. Spurs fans, I've got to do it, man. I've got nothing else as an Arsenal fan. But that's what it will come down to. Like, for me, you know, you don't need to give Son a license to attack us. I keep saying Dele Alli, he won't be involved, allegedly. So it was all about thinking about the runs that Kane, Eriksen, etc. It's all off the ball, essentially. And this is what goes into playing top 6 sides, because we've let ourselves down time and time again. Even if you look at the goal we conceded at, the goals we conceded at City. I can't be bothered, people, honestly. But don't you remember, it was a case of our defence not knowing when to push up, not knowing when to shuffle across to either side. Do you see it, people? That's what being a fullback is. If this fullback has to close down this man, people, then he has to shuffle across, and he has to shuffle across, and he has to shuffle across, and the midfielders have to drop in. Like, football is not a hard game. Like, it's not any different from playing grassroots football. Obviously, the quickness, the technical ability, and all these things, and the finer details I've never been exposed to are all prevalent and existing. But you get the point. Football's a simple game, people. Either way, I've got nothing more to say in regards to this. I just thought, I ain't done this for a while. Let me just play around with it. So I hope I've given you lot something to take home and just some thoughts. If not, apologies for that. But I'd be incredibly grateful if you could subscribe, like the vid, comment your opinions, and we move forward. On that note, I'm going to keep it moving. So people, it's been a pleasure. Deluded, I'm out.